Just to be very clear, Tim.
Just to be very clear.
Just to be very clear.
Just to be
We're
very
not
clear.
talking about the real world. We're talking about your God, okay? He doesn't exist. He's from a book where donkeys talk and snakes talk. It doesn't, the worldview doesn't make sense, and we can tell because an all good God could create a world where it was all good and there was no duality. What did God get right?
I think he got the majority of the things right. I don't know. It's hard for me to answer because I think right and wrong is subjective. I'm a believer in duality. Light and darkness can't exist without each other. There's no world without one or the other. Same thing with happiness or suffering. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, why don't you prove that?
Just look at our world. Give me an example.
That's the way I can see that's how it is, but I feel like I could eat ice cream and enjoy it without ever having shit or something that I don't enjoy. Like, because it just tastes good.
It's nice to think about that in that way, but the reality of the world is that it's not possible. There is a duality to everything. Everything in the world, there's a duality. For every good...
Yeah, you're saying that's just the way the world is right now, and that's fine, but that's not really showing me that it's impossible. You're just saying, you're just reasserting
It is impossible.
In this world.
In whatever world that you want to...
Okay, can you prove? Can you sort of prove that somehow? Like, if I look up the definition for good... It says to be desired or approved of, having qualities required for a particular role. Okay, so it will be the first one. To be desired or approved of. There's nothing in this definition that says, and not evil. Like, we don't need the other thing. This just has to be desired or approved of. It's not the opposite of anything. It is good of its own quality type of thing. But
I guess that's where we differ, because in duality you can't have, for instance, in order to desire something, you have to have something that's undesirable. You can't. Yeah,
I don't know that. I think you're just making that up. I think that's just an assertion that doesn't.
Okay, give me an example of give me an example that it doesn't exist. I can give you a million examples of how it does exist in the world, but give me an example of how it doesn't exist.
I'm saying it's not necessary, like, definitionally. Like, good is something that's desired or approved of. We can desire and approve of things without the opposite of that thing. Why couldn't we? And you're just saying, well, it's because there are opposites in this world, because there is this. I know that there are in this world. I'm just saying that, like, it does not have to be that way.
If you agree with that, if you truly believe that, give me an example of how that doesn't happen.
I can't show ice cream. I don't need to eat shit to appreciate ice cream. I can just appreciate the sweet, sweet taste of delicious ice cream. Is that not true?
I mean, I guess so, if that's how you want to frame it. I don't know how.
Also, is your God all powerful?
Yes, I do.
But he's not powerful enough to create a world where all you experience is good and you are enjoying that, and that's that. Like, he has to have this dichotomy.
I think this is where you would get this is where I think that good and bad is subjective. So, certain people's objective of what good is might not be your subjective opinion on what is good. It good and bad can mean different things for different people, different situations, different cultures, different places. There's a lot of things that we consider good in our frame and our life that you can go somewhere else and might not be good.
What does this have to do with anything? Can God create a world where all we have is good? And
I'm saying that good is impossible to exist without bad. It's a spectrum.
So
there's no one end without the other end.
Do you believe in heaven?
Do I believe in heaven?
Yeah.
Yes.
What will be bad in heaven?
I mean, heaven is not a world that's all off on its own.
What's this supposed to mean?
The bad for heaven would be hell. Which would be the opposite.
So God could have created good earth and then bad earth, but we never know about bad earth. But he doesn't even create it. He just conceptualizes it, and he goes, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do this good one. And then that could have been perfectly fine. Everything's good, no free will, everyone's happy, end of the story. That would have been better.
But this is the where the duality comes in. You would not.
No, but your duality has failed, right? Because
it hasn't. You would not know what good is. You wouldn't have.
That's fine. That's fine.
You wouldn't be able to experience happiness.
That's fine.
You wouldn't know what it is.
That's fine.
So how is there a point to what you're saying?
You
wouldn't know. It's just like everything could be bad, and you could think it's good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
So in heaven, do we have some sort of a memory of the bad, or do we only have memories of the good?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to confirm.
Well,
it says in the Bible,
is there pain? Is there tears? Is there suffering? Is there sadness?
What? In heaven? In heaven, in that area?
In heaven.
No.
For the experience of you in heaven. So
not from what I believe.
Yeah,
There's
Mike's got the next question. So do unborn babies or stillborn babies, do they go to heaven?
Do unborn babies and stillbirth babies go to heaven?
Yeah.
From what I believe, yes.
Okay. So they've never experienced anything except for waking up in heaven and it's all good. How is that possible? How can they know their experience? Hey Cam. How can they know that their experience is good? Do they not know it, or like do they die in that moment, or like how do they handle that if they don't have the bad thing?
Wait, reframe your question and ask that again.
So you're saying that it's impossible for God to create a world where everything's good and I would say there's no free will, that's fine, and everyone just has good times and experiences good things. And you're saying this is like literally impossible. This can't happen. There has to be bad to appreciate the good. But now we have a stillborn baby who never experienced life, and they go right up to heaven where they're only experiencing good. How is this possible under your view?
I'm not sure because I don't understand that to completion. I don't know if they could experience anything. I don't know what that means. For me, I would say that from what I think of the Bible, that it goes back to where God said, "I knew you from before the womb," so that you have a spirit, and that spirit, has I don't know how to define what a spirit is, or if they can actually feel
this is
good
all
and evil.
This is all a little bit of like word salad-y type of stuff, but like you understand, like without like working too hard, Tim, that obviously in your worldview it would have to be that these little babies go to heaven and they experience the good thing, which is heaven. And that's why we can stomach all the Amalekites being killed, all the babies of the Amalekites being killed, because they go straight to heaven. I don't know if you've ever gone over that. But in the same way, God could have 100% done that for life on earth. There's no reason for this. There's no like dichotomy that has to happen. That's just something that you made up that's just not true. And we can see that through the heaven thing. So we can go back to our...
Expound on what you're saying. What are you saying that doesn't?
Have you not followed this conversation?
I mean, I followed the conversation, but I'm not.
So my question to you is, why wouldn't God create a world where there's no suffering, even if that means we don't have free will? But I don't know if we had the free will thing. Why wouldn't God create a world where there's no suffering? Don't you think he would have gotten it better? He would have done better. And you said, no, there has to be suffering because we need the bad to appreciate the good. Then I said, what about stillborn babies in heaven? You're having a hard time with that. You're like, maybe they can't experience anything for some reason. But I guess that could be just the end of the conversation. That's the end of your worldview.
It's not the end of a worldview, but you use a particular subject for, we don't understand it. Like, you don't understand what's happening.
Like, I know we don't understand heaven, Tim, but if you think that God can't do it, but yet heaven exists, I think that doesn't make any sense.
I think it makes sense. It's just like, for instance, we know that light pushes darkness away. And that's the example that God uses. He used himself as a blinding light that evil cannot exist in his presence, basically. So, as you're close to God, you're basically unable to sin. As you're at that moment, you kind of lose that because you're overflowed with the goodness of God, the great, what it says in the Bible. So you're overcome, and it kind of expels that, like light would expel darkness.
I think about that. I think that heaven would be just some sort of weird drug trip of some kind where it's like God's just blasting your face with all of his light and you're just like, and you can't remember your life on earth because that would just make you sad. So you're just like having a great time, and you're probably chanting like holy, 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 and you just do that forever. You're just like kind of this like high slave to the worshiping of the God thing with like the light in your face. And it sounds brutal.
That's okay.
But you for some reason see this as there's more humanity to it somehow. I don't know. Anyway, I think the point is that you don't think God is capable of making a world where you can appreciate good without there being all sorts of evil. So you think 600,000 people do need to be sexually assaulted every year so that we can enjoy ice cream. And that's your worldview, Tim. You're somebody who...
It's not my worldview. You just place your parameters and whatever your premise is on people to try to win your argument, which is fine. That's
well,
okay.
I may be strawmanning you a little bit, but it does seem to be what you're saying. Because I'm saying that, like, God is powerful enough, if he's all powerful, to make a world where everything's just good. And I think that we see that in the description of heaven. And you disagree. You think that there needs to be evil, and that's why then there must be this egregious amount of like gratuitous suffering. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, no, I'm just saying, just like everything else, just anything else you can experience in the world. There's a spectrum. There is a circle. There is a duality to everything that you can explain and experience. I don't think that's absent from God. I think God created that duality. He wanted
So God's not all good.
That's why I think good is subjective. There's a lot of things that people would say in the Bible that aren't good.
God's not all good. He's not all desirable.
Like I said, good is subjective. So God sent people.
Tim, does God think he's all good?
Does God think he's all good?
Yeah.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure that's the way it is because.
Okay, so I guess where we're going is that like the 600,000 people sexually assaulted every year could be a good thing because it's subjective.
I'm not saying that, but does it make you a bad person if you didn't save those 600,000 sexually?
Tim, I would say that it would make me a bad person if I knew where and when, and I did nothing about it. If I was like standing in the other room and I did nothing about it, I would be a complete piece of shit fuckface.
Yes.
If I knew it was going on and I did nothing about it,
the way that you
and I could stop it, that's wrong. I'm talking about your all. Hey, Tim, I'm talking about your all-powerful God. I'm talking about your all-powerful God who created the world this way. I don't have those powers, right? But God does, and he's essentially causing it. But you are trying to say that he likes it. He thinks it's good because good is subjective to Tim, and we can't necessarily say that it's all wrong. We can't say that it's bad.
Right.
Because it's subjective. Yeah, so you're saying that those sexual assaults
make you a bad person.
You're saying your good God likes all the sexual assaults that are happening.
When did I say that? Here's you go twisting these words around.
It's the entailment of what you're saying.
Just like what I'm saying. Does that, like I said, the point that I give, if you know it's happening in your city, it's happening in your city. There's predators in your city, in your neighborhood, probably. Mm-hmm. Are you actively doing something to prevent it? Does that make you a horrible person? You can't frame the questions and the words this way because it can be used in the opposite way.
Can you see how this is not analogous? Can you tell, or are you purposely misunderstanding and misconstruing the idea? Because I'll go over it again. But
I just know that.
Let me ask you questions. Am I all powerful? Let me ask you this, Tim. Am I all powerful? I'm not here trying to just win something by doing some clever little wordplay, Tim. I'm asking you a straightforward. No, I'm not. And it's better to stop fucking bickering about this like this. Am I all powerful?
I don't know. Are you?
No.
Do you have power of your thoughts?
I've got power of my thoughts. So if I could think away all the sexual assaults, I would, Tim.
No, but you can actively do something.
Is there a being within this conversation? Is there a being that we've been talking about who is all powerful?
Yeah.
Okay, which one is it? Me or God?
It's God, of course.
Okay, so if it's wrong for me to not stop someone who's being sexually assaulted, to not stop that sexual assault from happening when I know it's happening and I can stop it, if it's wrong for me to not stop it, then why is it not wrong for God to not stop it? That's the question. And that's the question you can't answer. Do you have an answer? You can always drop. Pretend like you have a bad connection or something.
No, I won't. I don't need to do that. I don't need to pretend to do anything.
All right. What's your answer?
Like I said, duality is my answer to why bad things happen in the world.
We don't need duality. We have a promise of heaven where we
exist.
Heaven.
There's hell. That's the duality.
We don't experience hell. We just experience heaven.
When do we experience heaven?
When we go to heaven.
And there's another option beside heaven, right? Which makes it a duality.
Do we experience the duality, or do we just experience the good one?
No, if you go to hell, you experience hell. This is not, you don't experience it.
Hey Tim, each individual person, do they experience both or just one or the other?
I guess it depends on how you frame that question. That's like, do you experience good and
so
bad?
So I'm not playing the games, but I think you are. See, I'm not playing any stupid games, but I think you are, right?
Yeah, no,
like
I think you are.
You know that when you go to heaven, you experience heaven. You don't experience hell and heaven.
Yes,
you know that. I know that.
Time. Not at the same time. But if you're having a good time, do you definitely experience a bad time at the same time? But there still means that they're good and bad. You can experience them separately.
I'm not experiencing hell, though. I'm experiencing heaven. And there's no duality for my experience.
When
it's just one experience. So what I already suggested.
When have you experienced heaven and not hell? When as a living person, tell me.
When I go to heaven.
You're not in heaven, though. You're on earth.
Yeah, that's true. So
how do you experience heaven?
When I pass away, when I go to heaven.
Okay, so have you passed away to say that you can experience one without the other?
Okay, look, if it's your worldview where people that go to heaven are also experiencing hell in heaven, then that's your worldview to me.
No, there's a
like,
choice.
What are you talking about?
Or the other. There's a duality. It's a duality. You can if you do the right,
Yeah, what we're talking about is somebody having an experience. I don't know why you can't get this.
How can you experience it without dying?
What I'm saying is that if heaven is all good and you can go to heaven and have that experience of all good, then the duality thing doesn't really mean anything. You can have a purely good experience. And if you don't understand that, that's because you're dumb.
Heaven, you experience hell for the opposite decisions, which makes
it a duality. You don't. It's you either experience heaven or hell, correct?
Yes, that's the duality of it.
So let me suggest this again to you. I did this half an hour ago, but we'll try again. So if God had created a world that was like the good world, all the good things, but he conceptualized or even created a world with bad things, these people who experience only the good, they could still just have those experiences because the duality would exist, but they just wouldn't experience that, correct?
Yes, that's correct. The people that were in heaven would experience the good without experiencing the bad. But they did have a bad experience during their lifetime on Earth.
Unless they were stillborn. Unless they died in the womb before they were having any experiences, correct?
I guess so. That comes to the point to where I don't know.
That's where you don't know because that's where your worldview fails, right? So you have a failed worldview that doesn't really account for things.
Okay, show me an example in the real world where this duality doesn't exist.
No,
since we're using
we're talking. Okay, just to be very clear, Tim.
Just to be very clear.
We're not talking about the real world. We're talking about your God. Okay, he doesn't exist. He's from a book where donkeys talk and snakes talk. It doesn't. The worldview doesn't make sense, and we can tell because an all-good God could create a world where it was all good and there was no duality. But I have to dumb things down for you. I'm just spelling out your stupid worldview that fails.
Different worldview.
It's a stupid worldview that fails, Tim.